The most mysterious character in Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 is the voice on the phone who introduces himself as Ollie. Throughout Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, Ollie helps us in every way possible to find the items we need. We still don't know who he was and why we don't hear from him after Catnap's death. Hello everyone, and I would like to say that Ollie came into our lives very suddenly through a phone call, but can we trust the voice on the other side of the line? Is he really our Ollie? There are a lot of questions, and in this video we will try to get answers to all of them. So far this character has not been revealed to us, and all we can know about him is his name. And of course we heard his voice. Maybe Ollie is a really positive character, but are you sure we talked to him? Who is Ollie? The third chapter was released only 6 days ago, but there are already a lot of theories about this game, and of course Ollie was not left out. And of course the most attentive and enthusiastic players have already come up with several theories about Ollie, including that we already know him, and that he is the already known enemy prototype. It would be interesting to see how we meet Ollie in one of the rooms at the end, but suddenly a mechanical arm grows out of his body, and we learn that Ollie is actually prototype. At the beginning of our conversation with him, we learn that he is well acquainted with Poppy herself. Even Poppy herself speaks of him as a positive character and convinces us that he can be trusted. And in practice this is true, because he helps us, tells us where the objects are, where to go next, who to avoid, and so on. According to Ollie and Poppy, all these monsters need us to stop the main evil, prototype. However, we know that all these monsters are guided by very strange thoughts. For example, Poppy herself often talked about getting revenge on all the monsters that bullied her. But at the same time, Ollie never said anything about revenge. In fact, it turns out that some monsters use us to fight other monsters. And in that case, we are just pawns in the hands of those monsters, and our main goal is to help those poor monsters and at the same time save our lives and get out. I didn't see any intrigue in Playtime, and even at the beginning of the second chapter, Poppy wanted to help us get out of this interesting place, but apparently she needs us for something more. Of course, I would like to send everyone to hell and try to escape myself, but on the other hand, we are already trapped, and to survive and get out of here, we have to follow the instructions of the other monsters. At least that's the tactic we have at the moment. How it all turns out in the end, we will only know in the future. But unlike Poppy, Ollie no longer seems so strange and incomprehensible. At least he doesn't change his mood at the snap of a finger, and he has some credibility. He always tells us useful things, and in general, Ollie is a very nice guy. And thanks to him, we at least understand our final goal, to defeat the main villain prototype. Is Ollie a man or a monster? It's a very interesting question that deserves some attention. Ollie himself does not admit who he really is, but we can already assume that he is 99% human. Ollie is the last remaining person, or should I say the last surviving child in the orphanage, who found a safe place, and from there he contacts us using a phone that was created for Playtime employees. And I wonder how he knew that we were in the orphanage, because at the beginning he told us that he could see that we were confused. But how could he know that about us? And how could he even know that there was someone at the orphanage? Of course there's a possibility that he's watching us with video cameras, and when I first saw them, I was at a loss. But after a while I calmed down because I realized that thanks to them, we are not being watched by some horrible creature or prototype, but by our good Ollie. And there are cameras all over the orphanage. But why are we so sure that Ollie is watching us, and what are the arguments for this version? Why can't Ollie be a monster, and how does he know Poppy? I'm pretty sure that Ollie is a doll like Poppy or any other toy that comes to life, a monster in a word. We know that he knows this place very well, and you can say that monsters can't know the orphanage area perfectly, but you have to realize that they took over this place a long time ago, and I'm sure they've studied every square millimeter of this creepy area. It's unlikely that Ollie is a former employee of Playtime, because if that were the case, the protagonist would recognize his former colleague and at least introduce himself to him, but we didn't see that. But apparently the protagonist learns of Ollie's existence for the first time in his life. And remember Miss Delight's words where she wonders if we're the only surviving Playtime employees, which means that Ollie could very well be a monster, because we're the only survivors of this horrible place. And that's not just saying that, it's saying that Ollie could very well be a monster. Or Miss Delight just doesn't know that there are orphan survivors at the orphanage. Ollie could very well be hiding and showing no signs of existence. But then there's the question of what he ate and how long he's been hiding. And yet, there are arguments to be made that Ollie is not a monster or the result of an experiment, but just a normal kid who managed to survive after all the horrors that happened. We only meet Ollie in Playcare, and if he had been here for a long time, he would have explored this place. And if he was a monster, he would have probably moved on. Based on all of the above, I can't say for sure who Ollie really is, but I'm more inclined to believe he's human. Write your opinion about this question in the comments. What if Ollie isn't human, but she's not a monster? What if Ollie is the prototype? Back to the fact that Poppy knows who is hiding under the name Ollie, And we also know that the prototype helped orphans get out of the orphanage with the help of Theodore, who will become Catnap in the future. Also, the prototype can change its voice, and it could probably hear someone's voice and memorize it. Also very strange is the fact that after the prototype destroyed Catnap, Ollie stopped contacting us. There are a few oddities in the prototype's behavior. If its ultimate goal was the death of Catnap, why could it not have done so at the beginning? If Catnap trusts him completely and even considers him to be a god, why did he wait so long? And why was it necessary to destroy Catnap if he is a very strong assistant and therefore trusts the prototype completely? And why did the prototype decide to help us in the first place? Even with more and more attempts to reveal the prototype as a character, we still don't know anything about him. I don't understand how that can be. Even in Chapter 3, the prototype is just a giant mechanical arm. Its identity or motives are still mystery number 1 to us in Poppy Playtime. Even the scientists themselves admit that the prototype contains some valuable information, but unfortunately they don't tell us what they mean. Maybe they mean its intelligence, because even when the prototype was locked up, it was able to create a laser pointer to escape. The prototype can manipulate people, and that's a fact. At least Theodore's story gives us a sense of that. Maybe the prototype was able to manipulate the monsters, and as a result, they went berserk, and in all the chaos, the prototype was able to escape. That means he could have manipulated many others to carry out his plan. But we don't know what it is yet, but I'm sure that we are the missing piece of the puzzle that the prototype needed to carry out his plan. And that's why the prototype can help us get further and further away. As we go deeper into the orphanage, we destroy more and more monsters that will probably go to the prototype when they die. But in this case, why does he need us if we can safely say that his power is really amazing and he can handle absolutely every monster by himself? And why, for example, did he not appear before us in the second chapter and tell us everything? Maybe in order to carry out his plan, he needs everything to go smoothly and quietly, and he would be like a mere observer who would not want all the monsters to die. I think the prototype realizes that he can't do everything quickly and correctly if everyone knows that he's the one responsible for all the horror in Playtime. That's why he remembered the voice of one of the orphans he helped escape and decided to steal his voice. And in this case, no one would recognize him, and he would manage to deceive not only the main character, but also the Poppy doll itself, so that there would be no unnecessary questions about whether to trust this strange hand. Of course you shouldn't. So the prototype decided to pretend to be someone who would point the protagonist in the right direction and confuse Poppy while staying in the shadows. I think that's a very ingenious decision. I think it will continue until the final preparations for the prototype's plan are in place. And what his plan is, I think we'll find out in Chapter 4, or at least I'd like to think we will. And if you look at it that way, the theory that Ollie is a prototype has a right to exist and would be a very interesting plot twist. What do you think Ollie is? A human being? A monster? A living toy? Or is Ollie our ultimate prototype enemy? I would love to hear what you think in the comments. That concludes this video. I hope you get the most out of this beautiful game and stay on the channel, because this is just the beginning. Well, and see you in new videos that will appear every 2 days without delay.